afternoon and welcome to a combined edition of the Auditing and Sandy Newscast brought to you by ReallyCoolNews. I'm Jim Finch and I'm here to take you through multiple news stories for August 8th and August 9th, 2024. Between losing power for a good portion of yesterday and being doubled over with the reaction to healthy food, we lost a day somewhere in the mix. But if you really felt the chill, that was hell freezing over as we spent part of our time in darkness finally assembling the new computer chair your donations helped buy months ago, and we got the headphones your donations brought in to upgrade Rose's presence on our shows, boxed up and finally ready to ship to her. We also owe those who donated to our GoFundMe campaign an apology, as we didn't know what the thank all who haven't been thanked button would do. If you receive multiple thank yous, I guess it's not a bad thing, but we never intended to spam anyone if we did. We promise not to hit the button again, and we'll thank you as donations come in instead of waiting. On that note, it's time to get on to the news. See no spam, forget said spam, as we ask you to focus on GoFundMe, LIA prevents 2 days of goose eggs. A single stinking donation to Sean Paul, Long Island Audits Riaz, Support the Fight Against Tyranny and Corruption Fund, ended our possible string of goose eggs as a $10 donation took the day. We were high on this one, with a total blanking on Wednesday leading into high expectations of another day of goose eggs for Thursday's take. I mean, there we were, with hope in our eyes. 7 days of goose eggs means the retirement of this column, and we're free to go back to enjoying the loveless life of 4 a.m., scrambling for something to start the paper and newscast off while people are filing in or just starting to wake up. We had one day where no one cared to donate anything. One glorious day, where we were free of the burdens of having to announce a winner who wasn't us or to cover up when we did have the win because it was otherwise creepy, but still. It was a day we were prepared to rant about and embrace the joy of a day devoted to the holy goose eggs, when a tree fell on the power lines down the road, delaying our celebration for several hours and killing any chance of getting the paper out on time to do the mighty goose egg dance as we read the results for the newscast. The dance is simple. You improvise everything, much like I improvise this column every morning between 3 and 5 a.m., and you try not to knock anything valuable over in the office, as you can't afford to fix it right now. Donations welcome. So, after a day of frustration of not being able to do the dance, we sit down with our ever-expanding list of semi-dead crowdfunding campaigns and we wait. Starting from the bottom, our own campaign is dead again. Nothing in the usual smaller accounts, LIA1, LIA2, LIA3, LIA4, and Foul Filth Fleck Fart Morton Downey Jr. Comic strip censorship, a swear word, translates to Foul Filth Fleck Fart Morton Downey Jr. when we read it in this program. I can use it multiple times with multiple characters, but it's always going to come out as Foul Filth Fleck Fart Morton Downey Jr. I guess I could get Pants to record something funny to fill in for me saying swear words, but would it be the same, people? Would it be the same? So, here's to you, LIA, Long Island Audits, Sean Paul Riaz, for taking in your lousy $10 and winning the day. Congratulations to you, sir, and Foul Filth Fleck Fart Martin Downey Jr. to the rest of you. I'm going back to bed. But first, if you'd like to join our personal union of hate watchers who are apparently on strike but previously forced us to write this column every morning for the past God knows when, we do have a GoFundMe of our own. All proceeds go to keep the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. Foul Fleck Fart Morton Downey Jr. Wallace holds emergency livestream. Floyd Wallace held an emergency livestream Thursday night to ask his audience if he needed to replace his soiled and moldy passport before attempting to leave the country. Wallace claimed that his passport was in his front pocket of his pants when it began raining and he got completely soaked. He then displayed the passport, which was heavily warped from waterlogging and had black spots of mold throughout it. Expressing concern that the barcode on the back would not be readable, Wallace pulled his audience for guidance, ultimately accepting that despite it being used previously to re-enter the United States without a problem, it should be replaced before he attempted to leave the country. Wallace then, without missing a beat, began to fundraise for the $272 that he claimed he needed to get a replacement passport. The YouTuber further indicated that he would get expedited service by telling the passport people he was leaving within 14 14 days without needing to offer proof of departure. His previous fundraising efforts for his round-trip tickets to Colombia was immediately paused, still needing $145 for completion, and replaced by the replacement passport campaign. Turning his attention to his car, he explained that his recently purchased car was still undrivable after a crash in a rainstorm some weeks back, and that he would need to take an Uber to the passport center or post office that issues passports. While he did not immediately crowdsource for the Uber, he ignored those advising him to do his passport replacement request online, as he claimed he needed to do it in person. As super chats came in, Wallace answered a number of seemingly random questions, including that he was not interested in dating children or having children, and that he was not in search of casual hookups. He claimed with a straight face that he was in for a long-term relationship with a woman in a foreign country. He also agreed that women should be able to vote in the United States when asked. He said that he was looking for a servient woman and not a slave. Wallace said that women in third world countries would be more open to this idea, and he wanted to be able to control the relationship. Expressing joy that he would soon be subject to cheap eats and loose women, Wallace answered another question about prostitution. Despite doing videos on pay-to-play dating, he claimed that he wouldn't use the services of an actual prostitute, not that there was anything wrong with those who do. Judge slays hearing in DeCastro v. Blue Bacon. Judge H.J. Ford III ordered on Tuesday a delay in the hearing to discuss Michael Blue Bacon Paratini's motion for summary judgment in the case of Jose Chille DeCastro versus Kate Peter, Team Skeptic, Daniel Clement, and Paratini. DeCastro's new attorney had asked for a 30-day delay in the hearing as he brought himself up to speed in his defense of DeCastro. Paratini's attorney countered that DeCastro had the past month to bring his attorney up to speed on the case, as he clearly demonstrated that he had access to his email accounts through an intermediary while in jail. Judge Ford II compromised, giving DeCastro's attorney until August 13, 2024, to file a supplemental briefing in response to the motion for summary judgment, while giving Paratini's attorney until August 20, 2024, to file his response to the supplemental briefing. Paratini's attorney had previously argued in favor of the summary judgment, as the case had lingered since early 2023, without DeCastro ever stating what Paratini had allegedly done to DeCastro to deserve being sued. He pointed out that DeCastro has refused, to the point of receiving sanctions from the court, to sit for a deposition or provide answers to questions posed in the discovery process. He also stated that DeCastro clearly had access to the internet and had the ability to keep up with the lawsuit, as he posted dozens of new YouTube videos while he was incarcerated. DeCastro's attorney countered that he was newly hired to the lawsuit and it was premature to hold a motion for summary judgment, as discovery had not been completed and DeCastro, Paratini, or his fellow defendants, two of which were never properly served in the case, had been properly deposed. DeCastro is set to be deposed on August 21, 2024. No date has been set for Paratini or his fellow defendants to be deposed. The hearing on the motion for summary judgment will now be heard on August 30, 2024, the same date as the next scheduled status hearing in the lawsuit. Reed defense pursues case dismissal. Karen Reed's defense team is expected to push to have her murder charges dropped later today as they meet for a motion hearing in her continuing charges for the murder of boyfriend John O'Keefe. Reed is accused of hitting Boston police officer boyfriend O'Keefe with their car in 2022 after dropping him off at a friend's house for an after-party after a night out. Police accused her of backing into O'Keefe, then not stopping after knowingly hitting him. The defense claims that O'Keefe was murdered upon entering the house by homeowner Brian Albert, DEA agent Brian Higgins, and nephew Colin Albert, then placed on the front lawn of Brian Albert's home. A conspiracy was then hatched to blame Reed for the murder, as she was an outsider to the supposedly all-powerful Albert and McCabe families. Last month, her initial trial for second-degree murder was hung, as the jury returned that they could not move forward to come up with a verdict. After prosecutors announced that they would retry Reed for murder charges, The defense claimed that they began to hear from jury members who said that the jury had decided to acquit Reed of second-degree murder but did not put the verdict forward. The prosecution recently confirmed that they had received an unsolicited communication from one of the jurors making the same claims. However, they did not follow up on it, as asking about the jury's deliberations would be unethical. Reed's defense has put forward a motion to drop all charges against the defendant, as they claim that Reed was effectively found innocent based on the vote of the jury. According to the defense, the retrial would be double jeopardy, as, in their opinion, Reed was already found innocent of the charges despite no verdict being rendered. Prosecutors countered that there was no verdict rendered and that the jury had multiple chances to continue their deliberations to reach a verdict. Every juror member agreed that they could not move forward and that no verdict would be rendered in the case. None of the jury members have provided affidavits, and a simple jury vote is not a verdict. The latest pretrial hearing in the retrial of Karen Reed is set for later today. DeCastro Las Vegas obstruction case dropped. Charges against Jose Chille DeCastro in Las Vegas for obstructing the police on February 14, 2024 were dropped by the prosecution on Thursday. DeCastro was arrested after crossing police tape and then walking directly to officers on the scene of a fatal car accident in downtown Las Vegas. He insulted and degraded officers and was eventually arrested for refusing to leave the scene as officers were working. The key to the case was that DeCastro approached an officer before his verbal attack on the other group of officers, who instructed him to go under the tape and then turn before reaching the scene of the crime. While DeCastro completely ignored the officer's instructions, the fact that the officer instructed him to go under the crime scene tape may have been enough to have the case dismissed. DeCastro hired attorney Joshua Tomczyk to handle the trial and has made statements that he paid Tomczyk $15,000 out of $25,000 that Tomczyk agreed to handle the entire case. As Tomczyk only filed an appearance and the case hadn't had a hearing as of yet, it is unclear how much of the $15,000 DeCastro will be refunded and how much of the crowdsourced money he'll return to his fans. The YouTuber said nothing about the dismissal in his Thursday night live stream, which was an effort to get his mojo back with his audience after making several statements indicating that it was best to work with police last week. DeCastro changed course Thursday night and returned to his previous themes of hating police officers. As DeCastro did his usual pitch for his trifold and 5A cop card sales, he watched a more violent blend of negative interactions between police and the public than he normally does, stopping at one point to advocate that a suspect was in the right, as a police officer deserved to be punched in the face. While DeCastro half-heartedly backtracked and said that his fans should not attack the police or hit the police, he polled his audience to see if his thinking was right and that the officer deserved to be punched in the face while watching the video. The majority of his fans that answered his poll answered him with ones in the chat. The video in question saw a police officer interact with a teenager at a mall when the teenager attacked the officer who was interacting with him. DeCastro led his fans in putting a 1 in the chat to advocate the reasoning for a violent attack on the police officer in the video. DeCastro also announced on Thursday's night stream that he will soon be launching a website for Team DLZ, a site apparently devoted to his fans joining his group of helpers who had previously gone by that title. No details or launch dates were shared in the video. With a possible windfall of money being returned to DeCastro, he may invest some of it in fixing a recently broken front tooth. DeCastro was missing half of his left front tooth during his live stream, explaining that he had traveled to an undisclosed location for some dental work. This is a breaking news story. Well, la-dee-da, that was a long one. While we're not officially doing a pledge drive, as always, we do have a GoFundMe campaign, Cash App, and PayPals of our own if you'd like to contribute. And remember, contributing is optional, but we are working towards the goal of buying a 5-bay Synology NAS to back up all of our local files. The NAS goal is intended to replace our current multi-hard drive setup and has redundancy built in so that if we have another major site blow up or a hard drive dies or what have you, we have local files along with cloud backup. backups. Right now we're setting up a long and boring protocols where we have all the files used in certain days with backups up the wazoo that can be accessed from anywhere we go just in case. Call us paranoid, call us a cab, but remember to hit the like, share, and subscribe and donate buttons if you really want to. We are still 35 subscribers away from level 1 monetization, and we are thinking all sorts of ways to bring you more value once we hit memberships later this year, when we do hit that base monetization level. On that note, we're out of here for another day. Thank you for being here, and have a wonderful evening.